Welcome, everyone. This morning's panelist is why we love angst and drama. We hope to have a really great session for you. Just want to remind everyone to set your screen to gallery view. That's the little matrix up in the right-hand corner that says view. You select gallery view so you can see all of us. The chat roll is live for your comments, but if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box, and we hope to have time to take questions from our audience. So this morning we have a wonderful panel starting with Radclyffe. Radclyffe has written 70 plus romances in various genres, her latest being the 8th in the First Responder series. Her July title, Code Call, an ER romance, will be released in July. Welcome, Radclyffe.
Thank you. Morning, everybody.
We have Cari Hunter. Cari lives in the Peak District with her wife, their cats, and a pond full of frogs. She works as a paramedic and dreams up stories in her spare time. She has written 11 novels, including the Dark Peak series, and has won multiple Goldie and Rainbow Awards. In 2024, she won the Best LGBTQ Mystery Lambda for A Calculated Risk, the first book in the D.I. Joe Shaw series. The Stolen Girl, the second book in the same series, was released in June of 2025. Thank you for being here, Cari.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And we have Sheri Wohl. Try to catch up to award-winning author Sheri Wohl when she's out running, and you undoubtedly will because she's really, really slow. I will say that she sent that to me. I did not. That's not a judgment on my part. When not working on completing half marathons in all 50 states, the former human remains detective canine handler is writing stories filled with murder, mystery, and the paranormal. Sheri and her trusty German Shepherd Deuce call Northeast Washington State home, and while she has yet to encounter a werewolf, vampire, or demon, she continues to keep vigilant watch when the sun goes down and darkness falls. And last but certainly not least, my editor, Shelley Thrasher. When I asked the authors to send me their bios and pronouns, Shelley's answer interested me so much that I'd like to read it out the way she sent it, and then I have a follow-up question. Shelley sent, my newly found pronouns are NSOW, New Spirit Old Woman. I perused a list of current ones, but had to create these to fit my new 80-plus self. Being this old has been surprisingly pleasant and lighthearted experience, in spite of some major medical issues. I now spend more time resting and socializing with the people I love, and I find old age as much of an adventure as my life up to now has been. As to a bio, I'm a native Texan working as an English professor for 30 years and have been an editor and author for Bold Stroke Books since 2004. I live next door to my sister in our small hometown in East Texas and enjoy editing and writing, as well as reading, yard work, traveling, and socializing with my friends and family. I've never been more content. A slower pace suits me well. So welcome, Shelley. And my question to that is, you mentioned lighthearted and pleasant experience, and that kind of plays into our theme today of drama. How do you feel that as you have aged, that the drama has either increased or decreased in your life?
Definitely decreased. I started out with a lot of drama. I had a little hiatus as a senior in high school, I guess because I was excited about something different. But then the drama got worse and worse, and all kinds of marriages and stuff like that you have to go through. And then when I hit 80, I started getting sick mentally. I mean, no, not mentally, physically, but I started getting well spiritually. And so it's just been coming better and better. So I think maybe I was looking forward to college when I was in high school, so I had a good time. And now I guess maybe I'm looking forward to going on a new big adventure up in the sky or wherever it is or whatever it is. So I'm just really chilling out now and really enjoying life for probably the most ever. So
Okay. Awesome. All right. So our panelists today span the genres from romance to paranormal to crime thrillers, all of which lend themselves well to angst and drama or both. So first, I'd like to ask each panelist to tell us how the genre you write in lends itself to adding drama to the story naturally, and how you balance that drama as you're writing and injecting the subplots and whatnot. So we can start with Rad.
How does that happen every time? I'm going to split angst and drama because I don't think they're equivalent. I mean, angst is a form of drama, but drama is a much bigger umbrella. So for me, the easiest genre in which to write drama is when I'm writing a mixed genre romance. So if I'm writing a first responder, for example, it's really easy to have tense scenes or exciting scenes. So I think genre helps a lot in terms of creating external dramas, the things that challenge the characters. I think the hardest part is writing a contemporary romance in which a lot of the challenges are internalized for the characters as they come together and as the romance develops. And I think that's where we see more angst, because angst tends to be a personal, internalized experience. So for me, genre often determines exactly where the drama, where the excitement or the tension in the story comes from.
Okay, thank you. Cari?
I think I got it lucky really in terms of angst and drama because I do tend to stick with crime and thrillers, and sort of angst and drama come naturally into that genre, like Raj just said. So I get a free pass really in terms of being able to stick big scenes in there. You know, my characters are usually investigating something good and meaty like a murder. There's usually the odd chase in there. I like a punch up, so somebody usually throws a few fists. Um, my people get hurt, they get patched up. And through all that, I usually, well, I always do, to be fair, throw a relationship in. So, you know, there's the kind of more typical angst and drama of the crime thriller genre. So kidnappings, murders, you know, assaults, etc., etc. And then there's how do my characters cope with that? Because oftentimes they'll have normal lives, or they'll be trying to have normal lives as well. Oftentimes they'll be meeting somebody new or picking up the pieces of an old relationship, which is what I'm playing with the series that I'm writing at the moment. So it's quite easy for me to keep things moving and to keep things nice and dramatic. I've done romantic blend. I've never just done a hearts and flowers romance because I just don't think I've got one in me. I mean, I tried to write Breathe. That was my light-hearted romance, and I killed somebody in that. I find I can't help myself. That was actually supposed to be a light-hearted romance, and it didn't turn out to be that way. I just like the kind of drama, the high-end drama aspect of things. So I will tend to stick with that, I think.
Okay, thank you. Shelley?
I prefer to write historical novels, so I have a lot of built-in drama because these things really happened. I've thought a lot about another historical novel, but I don't know if it'll ever come to pass. I just enjoy the research set in 1870 in France, in Paris, when they declared a commune. So I have three characters from three women from different parts of ways of life in Paris, and the commune gets defeated, and they're thrown into prison, and they have to march south to Versailles. And so it's just the setup, I think, that creates the drama in that. Plus, I mean, and I pull drama from history. This actually has happened. So that's the kind of drama I prefer to use, is historical drama and then put my characters into it. And I guess also some of my own drama, of course, always pervades. I'm always writing about myself in disguise. And like I went to Indonesia and I got COVID the day I was supposed to fly back. So I was forced to stay in a beautiful luxury hotel for 10 days. And, but COVID was not fun. And it was very it was crushing. I mean, I was totally isolated. I didn't know anybody. So that was a drama, and it was kind of set the stage for a lot of self-exploration and coming to terms with my own internal dramas. So I was, I guess, historical and personal dramas are what I like to write about.
Okay, yeah, that sounds terrible, being trapped in paradise for.
Yeah, especially when you can't leave your room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
true.
that was it.
That's true.
But I even have a private swimming pool. I mean, it was nice.
Wow,
Wow.
yeah, you're making it sound
All right,
even
not so
worse.
bad now.
Sheri?
So for me, I mean, like Cari, I can't help myself. Bodies drop. And Shelley, who is also my fabulous editor, will tell you I'm always dropping bodies in the book. So you've got drama there because you have death and destruction. You've got the beginning of love going on, which always creates a little angst. But then, because again, I can't help myself, you have the paranormal element. So there's always, whether it's a werewolf or a vampire or a psychic with precognition or a witch, there's that layer of the paranormal, which then by itself, because there's usually one character who's not going to believe it, and so there's the angst of I'm seeing this, I can't make heads or tails out of it, and I don't want to believe, but maybe I have to believe. So you've got drama and angst all mixed together with the paranormal.
Okay, right. So since we're talking about editors, Shelley is an editor, and Rad, I know you've done quite a bit of editing as well. For the two of you, you have sort of a unique experience seeing both sides. As an editor, how do you guide an author in balancing or bringing appropriate amounts of drama or angst into their work? Shelley, you want to go first this time?
Sure. Um, I consider myself a style editor more than a structure editor. So I don't deal so much with the outline, the progression of the plot. I feel like that's kind of the author's territory. And unless I see something really messed up, I'm not going to say much about the story itself. Um, and when I edit style, I will play with it all day. And so hopefully through paying attention to the writing style, to the sentence structure, just the little things that will increase what the author is trying to say. And I feel like that most of them have a pretty good storyline. It might veer off one way or the other once in a while, and I'll say, okay, this doesn't fit. But I pretty much do rely on my authors to have a good grasp on that element. That's it.
Okay, Rad?
All right. So for the flip side, because I'm totally the opposite, and most of my involvement comes from reading the submissions initially and looking at the balance within the story. And for me, story structure is absolutely the most important thing that I look at, because I think that if the story is well structured, that means all of the beats are in the right place, which means the romance arc is developing in the right way at the right point at the right time, that the pace is proper. All of those things are sub elements of story structure. And a lot of people don't think in that fashion, but I think if you can train yourself a little bit to think about the important points along that storyline, it will help you develop the scenes that you want. And when I look at a manuscript that comes in, I'm looking for the important beats, and I'm looking for the balance between, if there is a relationship, between the romance and the external plot elements, which I think tend to be a whole lot easier to write, especially if you're writing a blended romance, a blended story where you've got intrigue or paranormal or mystery and a relationship. So I will look at that, and then I have done a couple of developmental edits with new authors before it goes to the style editor, who looks at then all of the technical elements within the book and the copy edits and the sentence structure. I don't usually get involved with that because that's a very specialized area. I might talk about point of view when I'm looking at a developmental edit, but I'm mostly looking at story structure. And what I would generally do is pick out specific scenes or places in the book where a specific scene is missing and try to use that example and say, right at this point, this has happened for the characters. How do they feel about it? What is the reaction scene? So for me, story develops from character. And that's kind of how I approach editing in terms of guiding an author to enhance a scene, to make it more tense or more dramatic, or to introduce a problem for the characters at that point. So hopefully that answers that question.
And that answers why I don't have to do much with substance, because with the structure, because Rad's taking care of that. So thank you very much again, Rad.
Well, I can be a pain because when we take a submission, if I'm not going to get involved, I'll put little notes for the editor. I don't know if anybody pays any attention, but they are in there. Like, I don't think this is quite strong enough in this part, so take a look at that.
Okay. Well, Cari or Sheri, is there anything you want to add as far as like maybe some tips you've gotten from your editors on how to sort of structure those stories or balance the drama in the story?
I think it's something that you pick up. It's something that I've really become more aware of as I've got better at writing, basically, and more experienced, especially sort of like once you've chosen your genre and you're kind of sticking to it because you know what works and what doesn't. So if I'm plotting a story, I will tend to know where my beats are going to go. I might not have the entire thing because I'm a bit of a kind of fly by the seat of my pants and a plotter. I will plot and then I will probably sort of improvise on that plot as well. So I don't stick to it, but what I will stick to is my beats. So I'll know where the big ending is. I know what my big ending is. I will know sort of like what's going to happen in the middle. I will know where my big drama is. And I'm always aiming towards those scenes. Everything is sort of like done in service to getting to those big moments. And I know also if something's a little bit off with the pacing. I can remember in A Quiet Death when I was writing it, the last book in the Dark Peak series, I was writing it. I'm thinking I'm kind of there's something missing here, and I ended up putting in quite an intense scene where they go and raid this house that's being used for sort of women that have been brought over basically for sex, and you know they've been imprisoned there, and they go and do this raid of a night time, and it just kicked up the pacing a little bit, and I could just tell that the pacing was sagging and it needed that little bit of a pep up. So I think you do get an instinct as to what you're doing basically when you're writing in terms of how it's going, how it's flowing, and whether you've just got a little bit of a sag that you need to kick up the bum basically and change something with the pacing, as long as you can make it make sense. You know, don't shoehorn something in just for the hell of it. It has to, you know, work organically within the story. And I think I was just lucky with A Quiet Death that it did actually work and I could make it work. But yeah, I think it's something that you just develop as you get better and more experienced. And I've been working with Cindy, my editor, since I started with Bold Strokes. So we're 11 books in now, 12 books in. So I always know, you know, if she says something and picks up on something right about it, there's no quibbling. So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Shelley has always picked up on things for me. Okay, so funny thing is when we first started, and Shelley and I have been together for a very long time now. And if I was off of that pacing, if my sentence structure wasn't quite right, she would send me homework assignments and I would have to do my homework. And I do remember one time she said, I hope I'm not offending you. And I'm like, I so look forward to my homework assignments But the end result of all of this is that I don't get homework assignments anymore because apparently I have learned what she was trying to teach me, and it's been great. And so, and then I was going to say the other thing that has helped me a lot, and this may sound a little odd, but I do acting and film work here in addition to writing. And so I've taken classes. And when you talk about beats, that's huge in that area of entertainment. And learning the beats translates to the writing huge, because even as you're reading, you need to know the beats. And so that helps keep the book moving and keep your reader interested in what's going on and wanting to turn the next page. So between Shelley's tutoring and taking all these classes, I've learned a lot, and wouldn't be where I am without Shelley. That's just all there is to it.
Yeah, I can echo that as well. It's always nice to get feedback that doesn't have quite as much red on it, and then noticing that you're not seeing the same things. Although I still don't know where the commas go. I think that'll be like a struggle for the rest of my life. But she's patient with me on that.
Can I tag on for a second?
Sure.
To what Cari and Sheri both just alluded to, which is the more you write, the more you learn about your own writing process and the process of writing as an artistic endeavor. I mean, stories have a frame and they have a body and they have everything just like we do. I mean, I like to think about stories like I think about the human body. And that's why structure is so interesting to me. But the more you do it, the more familiar you become, and the things that your editor points out, you begin to incorporate. And then eventually you know what your story needs and where your beats need to be. And what Sheri said is really interesting, because screenplays are kind of like stripped down stories, but they have exactly the same skeleton. They don't have the flesh because there's no setting. But certainly looking at how screenplays are put together is a really great way to understand story structure too.
And do you feel like that, just as a follow up to that, do you feel like it also can help with developing dialogue? Because
I
it's so
do,
focused.
because obviously it's all dialogue really. And then it's up to the actors to actually give you all the rest that goes along with the dialogue. I think most people find dialogue easier than the narrative layer and the subtext that we create in novels that are missing in screenplays. So, if anything, in my experience, the dialogue is often strong, and it's the narrative subtext that's weak that you have to work on.
Okay. I want to grab a question from the Q&A. It's sort of, I had this on my list as well. A lot of us are not just writers, but readers too. So can you still, when you're reading, get lost in a book like you did before learning all of the technical stuff? Or do you find yourself noticing tropes and structure and other elements while reading someone else's books nowadays? And thank you, Olga, for that question. So whoever, Rad, you want to?
I'll go first. I mean, if it's really bad, I mean, I'm going to notice it and I won't read it. But I think that you don't have to be a trained author to know if a book is not put together well or not written well. For the most part, I'm pretty forgiving. I might smile a little bit and say, boy, this person, just drifted way off of course here. But in general, it doesn't ruin my experience of reading when an author is eccentric in the way they write, and some authors certainly are. I mean, we'll take Nora Roberts, for example, who's one of my favorites, and she's always been criticized for the fact that she couldn't give a damn about point of view. And if she wants a character to have a point of view, they're going to have a point of view. And she writes so well and with such fluidity that you don't really notice it. So I think that, writing's an art form, and some of us can manipulate elements within that form and it works out okay. So from my experience, I'm pretty forgiving unless a book is really clearly poorly put together, or the writing is technically terrible, or it's very contrived.
I'm having a lot of difficulty finding books that I really enjoy. I used to be able to read anything and enjoy it. And I don't know if my attention span or it's that I have been so exposed, but it took me forever, and I found an old Pearl Buck book, and I just loved that. I could not put it down. It just seemed so well written and interesting and everything. And I found Rad's the latest book that came out, and it grabbed me the same way. But books are not grabbing me so much, and I haven't really thought about why. It's just, I don't know. It's just a mystery. So if I find out, I'll let you know. But
There's nothing
Okay.
better than actually just finding a book that just absolutely pulls you in. And just, I mean, I read a series by Leigh Bardugo. She's done one called Ninth, I think it was Ninth House, and then the sequel to that, and they were just so unexpectedly good. They were just like compelling. And then I'll read something like Richard Osman, who's incredibly popular and very successful over here. Started out as a TV presenter and now does kind of cozy murder mysteries. And you can see exactly where he's aiming those books for, and it's TikTok. He is a TikTok writer, so his chapters are tiny. They're very, very dialogue heavy, and you can see the sort of mechanics behind the writing. And I think that stands out. The more you do write, you can see what people are aiming for and who they're aiming their books for. So I find him kind of smug and a bit irritating, and I've not enjoyed his stuff as much as I thought he would, even though he's quite witty, and they're really easy reading. They're almost a bit too easy. There's no challenge to them. It's weird. But yeah, I love getting my teeth. I still love getting my teeth into a really good book. And I tend to read before I go to sleep at night. It just switches my brain off. So the whole screens, no screens, no phone, no nothing, just a book, and then lights out sort of thing. But yeah, I still read a lot, and I read across a lot of genres as well. So I do still enjoy it.
Same with me. I read a lot and I read across genres. And usually I don't have any problem getting through the books. And then there's occasional ones where they're just spectacular. And like you say, you can't put them down. And I read one that had just the best ending I'd seen in a really long time. So that was fun. And most of the time, I mean, I'm not running into anything really bad. So it's been great. I don't have any problem. Love it. I'll read anything.
Shelley, I wanted to say, maybe, I don't know about you, but I'm really much more particular about what I read now because I don't have a lot of time. Like, I'm busy and I'm writing, and I'm working a lot. So when I read, I want it to be something that really gets to me right away. I mean, I have favorite authors, and that really usually works for me. I don't explore a whole lot unless somebody recommends it to me, but I'm very conscious of the fact that I don't have time to do anything that's not rewarding in some fashion at this point. So I don't know if that maybe is what you're running into. There's also a lot more out there, and the quality of works gets diluted because of that. If you're just jumping around and you don't know the authors that you're going to be trying out, then it may be more of a hit or miss kind of thing.
Mhm. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I kind of find the same thing. I go through phases of when I'm really reading, and I'll almost read, like Rad said, anything that doesn't just really jump out as just not great or not good. I can be very forgiving if the romance if the story is good, I can be forgiving of some of the other stuff. But then I go through times when, and for me, it seems to be when I'm very, very busy at work, because I have to turn on the technical side of my brain, and I got to turn off the creative side a little bit. And I don't read as much during those times, or I find myself easily distracted from what I'm reading. So that definitely could be part of it. So I started reading queer novels, mostly romance, in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Obviously, Rad's books, Karen Callmaker, Frankie J. Jones. There wasn't a lot out there, but what there was no shortage of angst in those early stories. So I've been noticing a trend towards a more lighthearted romance lately. Do you feel that there's still a demand for an angsty romance story? And how have the themes sort of changed in today's novels? Anybody who wants to grab that one?
I'll jump first. I think that reading tastes go through cycles. I mean, certainly genres go through cycles where, oh, paranormal's hot for a while, romanticy's really hot now. For a while, the domestic psychological thrillers were really hot. So I do think that reader interests in the global sense do kind of go through various phases, and they may or may not be related to what's happening out there. I think certainly when there's a lot of external disruption, like during Iraq and during COVID, I think people did more often want to avoid things that were emotionally wrenching. Um, I personally hope that people still want to read Angst, because I don't know how to write anything that doesn't have some degree of angst in the book. I mean, for me, dealing with relationships means you're dealing with angsty situations at times. And I think angst gets a bad rep in that it gets lumped into overly dramatic, or pain for the sense of pain, or breakups that don't need to be there. And I think that that's looking at it from too narrow of a lens. I mean, angst is really something that simply a character struggles with, whether it's something inside or something in the relationship. So, to answer your question, yes, I think presently, probably because of the worldwide situation, readers are trending a little more towards the, sweeter end of things. But for my personal work, which has not changed, and honest to God, I don't think I can write anything differently than I've ever written, people still seem to read it, and they're pretty angsty.
Well, I got pulled out of serious stories, angsty type stories, kind of by accident in a way, because my really great friend Ann and I decided we were going to write a book together. So I wrote the romance part and she wrote the mystery part. Well, we got a little letter back from the editor. You can't have it both ways. You got to have a romance or you got to have a mystery. And so I said, okay, I'll go for mystery. It hurt me because, I'd written a bunch, but I went with mystery, and it's a cozy mystery. And that was so much fun. It was such a good experience to try something completely different. And Anne is a lot better at comedy than I am, but I'm kind of catching on. And it's like it's affected my life. My life seems a little bit happier now than I'm writing happy stuff. So I don't know if I'll go back to the more drama, the more serious, but for right now, I think the angst is taken care of.
Shelley, tell everybody what the title of that book is. Such a great title.
The Nursing Home Hoax. It's a Nancy Drew spinoff type
Okay.
thing. And
See, that makes everybody smile.
We have 80 some odd year old senior sleuths, and then we have a couple of teenage sleuths. So it's just fun. It's really fun.
Okay. So you kind of made me think while you were talking about that we're writing these books with drama and serious relationship type stuff. And when you step away from the keyboard, anybody who wants to share, you're obviously not obligated to, but how do you what do you do, or what do you enjoy in your life that kind of clears your mind of the seriousness of what you've just been writing, or do you prefer to kind of sit in it while you're writing that book?
Well, I have the kind of double-edged sword of being an author that writes quite grisly and um, occasionally upsetting crime novels, and then work shifts as a paramedic as well. So I don't have all that much spare time to get away from it all. But I do take advantage of the spare time that I can get. We go out in the garden. We do a lot of hiking. That's a cobweb blower offer around here. So we go up in the hills and we stomp in peat bogs, and that, I mean, that environment has actually, you know, been pulled into my books as well. The Dark Peak series, the books that I'm writing at the moment, they're all set around where I work and where I play essentially. So the Dark Peak books are in the Dark Peak, the Peak District, part of the Peak District that we live in. The dark is the kind of the gritstone and the bogs, because there's Dark Peak and there's White Peak, which is limestone. So there's actually a dividing line in the Peak District. Dark Peak works really well for a crime series though, so we went Dark Peak. And the series that I'm set at the moment is in my stomping ground where I work. It's a loosely kind of disguised area that I work in. So I can't get away from it all that much, because even on my days off, if I'm writing, I'm back at work because, you know, they're all medical and crimey, and it's police and it's doctors and it's nurses and it's paramedics. But
And
I spend
bodies.
it. Dead bodies, grisly injuries, yeah, patching people up, the kind of thing that we enjoy doing. But I do enjoy doing it, and I kind of enjoy writing about it, which is weird. You would think I would want to write something completely different, but I think it's the kind of write what you know, or write what you sort of know and improvise the rest, because I'm not a police officer, obviously not a detective either. But it's all the same kind of emergency service kind of life that I live. But yeah, I do chill out, and I'm kind of addicted to doing jigsaws on the iPad. I have a work iPad that we're supposed to do work on, and I'm really addicted to a website called Jiggedy, where you can just flip jigsaws around. So I do that a lot of the time to chill out.
Okay. Yeah, I have a jigsaw app on my iPad as well.
I have one in real life. I do them. I was just going to say that's the. I like to work, and I like to write, and my work and my write are very relate. My writing and my work are very, interrelated. So I work a lot, but when I don't work and I want to get completely away, I do jigsaw puzzles. I did a lot of the wooden puzzles from Britain at first, the Wentworths, which are kind of hard to get because we have to mail them over here. But I prefer the wooden ones. And there's Liberty and Nautilus, which are produced in the United States, which are wooden jigsaw puzzles, and they're absolutely amazing. So that's what I like to do when I totally like to get away from everything and everyone. If the dogs are making me nuts, I have a different room where they're not, where I can go and just be quiet. So that's my quiet time.
I love I live in a small town, about 12,000, out kind of in the outskirts. And there is a huge farm across the street, the road from where I live, which I have access to. So I love to go out and walk, just walk through the woods and everything. That is my really happiest place because, yeah, it's like being back in the Garden of Eden or something, it's just like everything's so fresh. There's no complications. It's the cows, and even the bull. They used to have a big bull, and that was a little scary, but now he has a little bull. So
Which
that's,
will become a big bull.
yeah, I took care of it. I mean, I was cautious around the big bull, but it's nice to me to get out in nature, solves everything.
I'm like Shelley. I live very close to Riverside State Park here in Northeast Washington. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of acres. And so I go run or walk or whatever by myself and just soak it all in. And there's eagles and moose. And the only thing I don't like is occasionally there'll be a snake on the trail, and that freaks me out. But other than that, it's just a lovely way to breathe in the air and relax. And a lot of times I come up with ideas for books, which you will see in the books. And you might, if you're here, you might recognize those places. I've had locals tell me, I can't ride my bike there anymore because now I see werewolves.
That's great.
I think it's interesting that werewolves and vampires don't scare you, but snakes do.
And there you have it. Yeah, it's true.
All right. Well, that kind of had me thinking the things that we do in our off time, and I have several outlets as well. We like to travel. I like to do some amateur woodworking. I recently have gotten totally addicted to my Nintendo Switch, but I also really enjoy television and movies. And I also I do technology support for our 911 center here. So I have some connections to the public safety realm as well. And I write some first responders in my books. How do you feel in the genres that you write? How do you feel that the other medias, television and movies, the drama in those stacks up? Because I think one of the criticisms, I guess, is that those are very over dramatic. And I like to tell people, if you made it like they recently made a Nashville 911 show, and it is very over the top compared to real life. But if you made a movie about the real life of it, nobody would watch it. It's not, the drama and heart pounding every second that they see. So how do you feel like the other medias balance the drama in comparison to how we do so in the written realm?
Well, I love to what right now. I'm really hooked on historical, 19th century historical television shows, series about the queens, of European queens primarily.
Mm.
And I watched two versions of the queen. Her nickname Sissy, the Austro-Hungarian empire. She was queen, and then she was assassinated when she was probably in her 60s or so, because they couldn't find the right target, so they just decided to assassinate her in recompense. But so what was the question?
Oh,
I found the two versions of the series of her life in the two series very different. It seems like that screenwriters just take total liberties with his history. So that interests me. But I like to get to know these historical people. So that's why I watch it, because they're inspiring, and it's kind of a women's suffrage type thing too. All of the movies that I watch have to do with women in power and gaining independence. So that's always kind of in the background of anything I write or think about, is how can we become equal with men? It's the old feminist part of me that just can't, it just keeps getting stronger all the time. So I think TV is very important to me right now.
okay. Anyone
I
else?
was I was a proper geek, but I am banned from watching some medical dramas because I will just sit there and go, well, that drip's not dripping. Oh, they're not going to get better if the oxygen's not switched on. I mean, that why are you shocking that? It's a flat line, that kind of thing. And that in books as well, it does kind of just get you a little bit when, you miraculously resuscitate people just by arguing with them and telling them to fight, and it just doesn't work. So when you get a TV series that does it really well, you kind of hook onto it. So there's one over here called Blue Lights, which is a police drama series set in Northern Ireland. And they get the ridiculousness of the job and the banter on the job and the little things that we go out to that, you probably don't want to write about because it's really stupid. And I tried to show that in Breathe, the kind of the warts and all aspect of being a paramedic, because like you say, it's not all dramatic all of the time. I can't remember the last time I actually went to a cardiac arrest. And even those aren't big dramatic jobs. You know, you're usually bouncing up and down on the chest of a obese 72-year-old who's wet themselves. It's not glamorous. It's not, you know, it is quite funny at times because we've got horrendously black senses of humor. And I think when a show actually gets that right, there's an Australian one about the flying doctors, the RFDS, that's actually good. It gets the medical stuff right, and when you find something that does it well, it tends to hook you in just for the fact that they obviously know what they're doing in the background. I won't mind watching The Pit. I know that's popular over there, but it's not. We don't have the channel that it's on over here. But I know that's supposed to be good. But
Very good.
Yeah.
I think in all fairness, just as when we write a novel, we condense human experience because we have to get that whole story into 70,000 words. And I think that the screenwriters or the script writers, they also have to hold people's attention. And most of the people watching it are not experts in that field. I agree with you, Cari. Sometimes, you know, I have to laugh about what I see. I've been impressed with The Pit. And I was impressed with the early seasons in Grey's Anatomy as well. I mean, the depiction of the residency process and some of the intraoperative stuff was amazing. I mean, it was real surgery. I don't know where they got it from. But there's a time constraint and there's also an audience constraint in that you have to keep the audience engaged. So sometimes, like just with the 911, it's like most of the time it's not constant one after the other, exciting or critical things happening. But when we write, whether it's a romance or whether it's a medical romance, which I write a lot of, you need to keep the pace up, which means things have to keep happening and there's not a lot of downtime because we're limited by the kind of frame in which we create. So, I'm with you. I laugh at some of the things I see, but I think that if we're going to watch television or watch a movie, we have to accept the medium for what it is.
Still drives me nuts with the dogs. So that's where I go off the rails because, and again, I understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, but I just, like you guys with the medical stuff, I shake my head and go, no, that is not how it's done.
You mean like canine?
Yeah,
in police work and stuff.
Yeah, because it's like they'll have these dogs doing absolutely everything, and it's like you can't. There's not enough hours in the day to keep a dog trained to do everything. So it drives me nuts. But then, you know, I get told all the time, it's just a TV show. Let it go. Or a book. There's some of the writers, canine writers, where I'm like, those I have a hard time reading because it's like, it's just not right. I can tell when somebody's actually a canine handler or a trainer because they tend to be closer to the truth. And I can give you grace for expanding for the story structure, but I have lines and sometimes I can't cross those lines.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I wasn't suggesting one doesn't need to be accurate in the research that we write. If we're writing medicine or we're writing whatever we're writing, it has to be as valid as we can make it. Yeah. I was thinking more about the how much we pack into our books in a day that you might not see in a real day.
Okay, great. Well, we're getting close to the end of time. So if anybody has, any of the panelists have any additional comments or want to, you know, say anything about an upcoming book, I'll give you some time here to do that.
Well, if you want to read, like, you know, 24-hour emergency medicine, Code Call is coming out in July.
I'm looking forward to it. All right. Well, I want to thank each of you for spending your time with us and encourage all of our viewers to check out the rest of the schedule. We got some great stuff going through the end of the day here today. So enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Erin.
Bye.